Adrian, good morning.
Morning, Gerry. Ryan, how are you keeping?
Very good, sir. You were listening yesterday.
I was, yeah.
I was talking about the lack of a nativity play in many schools in the United Kingdom. Well, it seems that the problem and the issue has spread across the Irish Sea, and it's something we're going to have to face here. I read out an article, wasn't that it? It was something I think that was in the Mail, probably, if I recall, because they followed up on the story again today. You were listening.
That's right, yeah. Well, I was explaining that my son's school, St. Conleth's there in Derrentorn, have put an activity play on. The whole school, 250 students. And they're all doing different Christmas themes, but with the fairy tale thrown into it, like.
So they are having a nativity play?
Yeah.
But they're mixing in a fairy tale with it?
Yeah.
And what's the fairy tale?
Well, my son was playing one of the three pigs, was actually turned out to be three wise men.
What is it? Really? I huffed and I puffed and I blew your crib down.
Yeah, and the Mr. Wolf was the innkeeper, and
that's a fairly brave kind of take on the whole thing, isn't it?
It worked out actually very well.
Oh, have you seen it? They've already put it on.
One last night, and now it's on for a couple of days this week now.
So, Adrian, talk me through it. I mean, how, as far as the Three Little Pigs, is the wolf and the House of Straw, wasn't it, and the House of Clay and...
Yeah, well, they're not the kind of the houses, then just you use the figures as the three wise.
Okay, so they haven't actually taken the story of the Three Little Pigs, but just... So the Three Little Pigs are the three wise men, okay?
Three wise men, yeah.
And the wolf is who? Who's he again?
He was the innkeeper that turned them away.
He's the innkeeper that turns them away.
Yeah.
And who plays the baby Jesus? Pinocchio?
No, well, that kind of said baby Jesus and Joseph.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. We should be grateful for small mercies. It's interesting now, Adrian, that you bring this up, because actually going back to the Mail again today, nativity is just far too religious, says a creche here in Ireland. Apparently, a caller to Liveline yesterday said that her child's creche had decided that they weren't going to have a nativity play because they were non-denominational. And even though they'd been learning Christmas songs over the last couple of weeks, no nativity play though. And I have to say, I think this is, I don't know whether you agree with me, but I think this is absolutely barking. I think it's mad.
It is actually, because the kids, like, I know they do a lot in the school, but the activity play is excellent as they're all involved, the whole lot, pupils, students, and all parents as well. Like, it does take an awful lot of planning for costumes, and a lot of work went into it. But it did work out.
But also the birth of Christ and the journey to complete the census, because, maybe people have forgotten that part of the story. That's the reason that they were heading to Bethlehem, was that they were going to complete the Roman census. So, and that's why there was no room at the inn, because the place was chock-a-block. It was like oxygen, there was a big turnout. And the whole idea that this, first of all, this incredibly brave husband, who had no idea how his missus had gotten pregnant. This was a guy standing by her. He hadn't had sex with this woman, but she was pregnant. And in Galilean Jewish terms, that would have been the end of the world. They'd have stoned her to death, There was some truth in that scene from The Life of Brian. They'd have stoned her to death. Yeah. But he was sticking by her. So first of all, there's a wonderful, husband and wife story there as well, standing by his missus, trusting that this fairly dubious explanation... Imagine if your missus came back and said, I'm up the duff, and by the way, the Holy Ghost did it, right? Would you believe her? If you loved her, you might play along with it, right? Yeah. So he was really giving there, and this child born in a stable with absolutely no affectation, no support mechanisms, no technology. I mean, it's a wonderful story, the beginning of a great story. All right, good luck to you, Adrian, and I don't know what the rest of you think. I think it's dreadful. The Brits have gone particularly mad in their schools in terms of political correctness. You know, you can't say boo without somebody going, oh, that'll offend the Baptists, oh, that'll offend the Nigerians, oh, that'll offend the Irish. Oh. So basically, you know, they're hugely hamstrung in cultural terms when it comes to celebrations. And, you know, the religious dimension to the Christmas celebration has been taken out completely from many English schools. Is the same thing going to happen here? I think it would be a great shame, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Christian. These stories, inevitably there's a common theme running through them, and that is hope. They're all about hope, having hope for the future. And I think that's a good story to tell.
19 to 92. The Gerry Ryan Show, Monday to Friday, 9 till 12 on 2FM.
Seamus, good morning to you.
How are you, Gerry? How's it going?
That's going well. Good to have you on board. Now, you were listening yesterday and we spoke with a woman who found herself in not a unique situation, but I have to say an undesirable, but she was living it up, an undesirable one. She was living up to it. She told us the story of the breakup of her marriage. She had a 16-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter. Now, she was in a new relationship. The old relationship had broken up, and fairly acrimoniously too. Her husband had gone off with another woman. These things happen, but there was no contact between him and the kids anymore. She had a new fella in her life, for which she was quite grateful, and her 16-year-old son seemed to be able to deal with it reasonably well, but she was having huge problems with her 10-year-old daughter, who was finding it, understandably, finding it very difficult to accept the fact that Dad wasn't around, that Dad wasn't in contact, and fearful, I think, if you read between the lines, fearful that this new man's appearance on the scene heralded the end, the complete end, to her relationship with her father.
This man was going to take her daddy away.
Yeah, and that even giving in to him,
away.
you know, giving in to him in a sense, you know, being nice to him, accepting his presence and welcoming him into her life, was in effect really the death knell for her relationship with her dad. Yeah. And, you know, even though that is not logical, you can understand from a 10-year-old's point of view where she was coming from. Sure. Now, you have some advice.
Well, it wouldn't be advice, experience more so. It'd be wrong to give advice anytime. But, no, like, I think this young lady in the relationship would probably see maybe... a woman took her daddy away, and now she's seeing maybe this man is going to take her mommy away. You know, and like I think because she's so young, if both of them sat her down and explained to her. But
they can't do that, though. They've no contact with each other anymore, and he seems to have gone.
No, but this you know, this lady and her new partner.
And then, oh yes, Sorry, I hear what you're saying. Yeah. Have you been through this?
Well, I had a similar situation. I was in a relationship with a lady who had 4 daughters, and with one of the daughters, you know, 3 were okay, you know, but I could see through the pain of the other girl. And
what do you think she was afraid of?
She was afraid of me stepping into her dad's shoes.
Yeah, and that would mean curtains for her and her dad. Is that what she was afraid of? Yeah.
So we sat down one evening, and I explained to her, because I seen that she was really hurting, and you know, even if I was holding hands with her mum in the kitchen, she'd turn on her heels and walk out.
And James, what did you say? How old was she first of all?
Oh, she was a teenager, like.
Yeah, and what did you say to her?
First of all, I said that I fully understand where she's coming from, and I made it quite clear that I was not going to step into her father's shoes. I would never, ever attempt to do that. And I said to her that, you know, I understand that your wish would be your mum and dad to get back together.
Yeah.
And if that would be the case, so be it, you know. And, like, the result of that conversation was that we became great friends. And as I said, I'm not in that relationship, but 2 weeks ago there was an accident on the road near where I live. And this same girl phoned me up to see, was it me because I work in that area?
Yeah.
You
So
know,
you've
so-
maintained a relationship with her?
Oh, very much so, yeah, we're all friends, you know,
Good.
all friends. But, yeah, and I think both of them maybe should sit down with the girl and for him to explain, her mum's new partner to explain to her, you know, that he's not going to be her dad. He's not going to try and replace her father, you know, and reassure her more so.
Are you in just out of curiosity, are you in a relationship now?
No.
It's going to be lonely
But I'm not
this
giving
Christmas.
up.
You're
Yeah,
not giving up,
yeah,
all right.
so
Well,
if there's anyone else,
you keep
there's anyone else
keep
out
the head
there
up. Keep the
saying
head
what?
up, Seamus. Seamus, will I dig into Santa's sack for you, will I?
Sure, that would be cool, Gerry.
Do you drink coffee?
Actually, it's the strongest thing I do drink.
Okay. Let's see what we've got here. Santa might just have something for you.
Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho. My own sentiments entirely. Okay, it's all the way from Brown Thomas. It's a Gaggia. These are the top end. These are the Ferraris of coffee making machines, right? The legendary Italian market leader in espresso machine technology. This will make you coffee that it's, if it was any stronger, it would be illegal, right? It would be illegal. All right, it's yours. And enjoy.
Gerry, thanks very much.
Happy Christmas to you. God
And
bless.
you have a lovely Christmas.
Yeah, and you too, and I wish you happiness and good health for 2008. Good morning to you.
Because I might get a woman out
With the coffee machine, I wouldn't bank on it, but at least it'll keep you awake. All right, good luck to you.
Okay, thanks,
Bye-bye.
sir.
Bye.
Bye.
Susan, good morning to you.
Good morning, how are you?
Don't love me for fun, girl. No?
No.
Okay, fair enough. Ah, well, you know. If Ronan's listening, good morning, Ronan. Susan, now, you're a divorced woman.
Yes.
Would I be correct in saying that? Okay.
Yep.
Now, you were listening to our last caller, and you may also have been listening yesterday to the story told by that woman.
Yep.
I think you've been through something similar too, haven't you?
I have 4 kids, but I have a boy. He was 11 at the time.
Okay.
And I met somebody else, and he didn't take very kindly to it.
How bad was it?
He was very bad. He used to, if we were going out, he'd be on the floor in the hall. He'd be ringing you if you went out to know how much food you have left on your plate, what time will you be home at.
That's
he was
exactly
really bad.
what the woman yesterday was going through.
Yeah, he was
Huge
really bad.
insecurity with her daughter, exhibited by exactly as you've just described. Constant anxiety when she went out, constant checking up on her, and a fair amount of aggression towards the whole idea, not just even the physical presence of a new man in her life, but the whole idea of it.
We had physical violence,
You're joking.
everything. Oh, he used to go ballistic. He'd go for him. He was terrible at the time. And we went to family
He'd actually
counselling.
physically go for him.
He'd physically go for him. My partner used to have to sit in the hall and actually hold him on the ground until the temper would subside.
My God, how old was he at that stage?
He was 11. But he's a big lad.
But he must have been terribly distressed, though, to be driven to that.
He was, because, like the other caller, he doesn't see his dad either, and I have 3 girls and a boy, and he would have had a better relationship with his dad maybe than the girls would have had.
Yeah.
And he was kind of then just dropped, like, it was just... He couldn't understand.
And Susan, yesterday, the particularly sad and very distressing part of yesterday's story was that this young fella had no longer, or was it a young girl? It was a young girl, yeah. Had no longer any contact with her father.
Yeah,
was that the same thing with your situation?
Yeah, no contact. And found it very difficult. The girls, my girls adjusted to it a lot faster because the 2 older girls were old enough to know what was going on, and my youngest daughter was too small to notice anything. So he really got the brunt of it. We went
And
to family
would your son have gotten on well with his dad
Oh,
before
extremely.
without giving anybody's name away or anything? Why didn't he see them?
Circumstances, just things happened that I'm not willing to go into on air.
No, and I don't want you to either.
Yeah,
But-
circumstances didn't allow it.
Okay, that's terrible.
And it's just the way it happened, unfortunately. And that's the way it is now. But as I said, I would advise the other lady not to give up on her relationship. When her relationship with her daughter is important, it can be worked out.
And how did you work it out?
We went to family counselling. We went to family counselling as a group, including grandparents, my mother anyway, and the other kids and my partner and him, and he also went to counselling on his own.
And did it help?
Oh yes, majorly. Now, don't get me wrong, it's 4 years later. Myself and my partner celebrated our first year of marriage in November.
Well done, congratulations. It's great to hear somebody getting a second chance.
Yeah, and I mean, I had a stroke in May, and I think he's really realised that he's here for good. You know, he looked after me when I was sick. He looked after them, and I think it really, you know, he really saw him in kind of a new life. Now, don't get me wrong; they still have their moments. We still have, "You're not my dad. You can't tell me what to do." Right. Every so often, but
yeah, but you can get that from your own biological children as well. They mightn't use those words, but you're not the boss of me. Can be said in many different languages in many different ways.
It was no picnic, and it was hard.
But it definitely
to
worked, because that's what I was yesterday. I thought that counselling, because I'm a great believer in therapy and particularly intervention by a third party. I think it's really good. I
wouldn't have been until I went.
Oh, neither would I. It's not until you actually see it in action and see the results of it and the rewards that can be gained from it that you can, I suppose, call it a waking up and smelling the coffee moment. And we Irish are particularly suspicious, I think, about therapy of a psychiatric or a counselling nature. And you know, it can really, really help. It's not a panacea for all ills, but it can really help.
And plus, the girls got a chance to air things maybe that they wouldn't have aired if it hadn't come up. Yeah,
exactly.
And I have to say now, as a family unit, we're probably stronger now than we ever were. That it does work, and it's worth sticking at it.
Where did you? I mentioned Rainbow yesterday. What did you do?
We went to counselling court. We got onto the health board. There's a family health. There's actually a counselling service with the health board that do family counselling.
Excellent.
And it's a free service.
And how long did you have to wait to get it?
We weren't waiting that long. We got to see within a few weeks of actually.
And how are you after the stroke, Susan?
I'm fine, thank God. Came back fairly fast after it. Also, after about a month, everything started coming back to normal.
I'm glad to hear that. Now, will I dig into Santa's sack, will I?
Very nice.
I think I should, shouldn't I? Now, where will we go? There you go. I'm picking this one because I don't know what it is, okay? Maybe not the best way of picking your prezi. All right, I have dug deep into Santa's sack. I'm now taking it out. And I think this one comes from Paul Sheeran's Jewellers. Okay.
Very nice.
Let's see what we've got for you. Is Santa going to be good to you? Oh, I think he is. All the way from Paul Sheeran's, a beautiful brown leather jewellery box that will keep any woman's precious gems safe. That's valued at €295.
Ooh, it's lovely.
Now, hold on a second.
I'll have to fight my daughters off first.
Do you know what? You'd really want something to put into that, wouldn't you?
That'd be nice too.
Hold on. Santa's in really good form today, isn't he? I'm staying in Paul Sheeran's for this. The John Rocha, would you hear about this? John Rocha's medium flat signature cross snake. It's absolutely a beautiful piece of jewellery. Absolutely gorgeous. Okay? And that's for you and your jewellery box. So there's something to start you off with, okay?
It's very nice. Have a lovely Christmas. Yeah, I love the show.
Thank you very much. God bless you. Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you.
Okay, it's 15 minutes to 11 o'clock. Oh, I do like Santa's sack. Do you? Of course you do. You love it. Now, as our callers have highlighted over the last 2 days, Christmas can be a very, very tough time for families, either going through separation or coping with the various pressures that come upon a family. Even the best and most stable families have huge pressures at this time of the year. And I've spoken of expert advice and counselling and how I believe therapy can be very, very useful. Relationship counsellor with MRCS, the Marriage and Relationship Counselling Service, Lisa O'Hara, joins us on the line. Lisa, good morning.
Good morning, Gerry.
Welcome. Nice to have you with us. Now, you came to the business of counselling, I suppose, not just by inclination, but by experience.
That's right, yeah. A long time ago, though. But I suppose listening to all those callers there, and particularly how they handled it, you know, these things do take a bit of time to work themselves out. And I think that really the most important thing to say is keep the old expectations realistic, especially around Christmas. Because it is a time that triggers off those losses, and children get very sad about it as well.
Well, the one thing I think that seems... It's a kind of a cancer in a way, and that is when we become blinded to the needs of our children because of the hatred and the animosity that we develop during acrimonious separation. It's really must be one of the most. It's a horrible thing, and it can happen to anybody.
Of course it can, and you know, as you were saying, it was a ripple effect, not just on the couple and their children, but also the wider net of family and friends. So it's a difficult time for everybody, really. Even, you know, with the best will in the world, we do have feelings, and they do colour how we react. And I suppose children, especially the little ones, get very lost in it all. So, you know, it's just a very difficult time for everyone.
What do you do with a situation, though, for instance, like yesterday's, where you have a father who's no longer in contact, right? So there's no possibility of making that call. And I mean, you know, I'm mindful of some people who maybe after yesterday would have had the courage to go, okay, I'm not getting on well with her, or I'm not getting on well with him, but you know what? I'm going to make the call and see can we establish some sort of pattern of contact. And that's a great first move to make. You usually need the help of somebody like you for that to happen. Yeah. But what happens in a situation where one parent is just not going to be there?
Yeah, I know. It's a big dilemma, really, because you're even with two parents, you're relying on the goodwill of both at a time that's, you know, for children, I suppose, really at Christmas time. But I think if they're not, it's really important for the custodial parent, the parent who has the child or children, to sit down and listen to the children's concerns and sort of listen without judgment or without even trying to defend your own situation, because very often children will act out the anger and the very hurt emotions with the parent whom they feel safest with, and that would be the one that they feel will leave. You know, that there's no chance that they're going to leave them, if you like. And that's hard for that custodial parent, you know, because they're sitting listening to it. But if you listen to the child's concerns and acknowledge where the child's at, so, you know, you may be saying something like, you sound very angry, can you tell me a bit more about that? And to let the child get their emotions, to get their story out, usually that'll, you know, it's not surprising when the child, once they get it out, starts to feel a bit better. Maybe hard for the parent to hear it, though, but so you need to put your own emotions. You need to
put the steel overcoat on, I think, for that moment.
Yeah.
Now, yesterday I was giving my own advice, and I said, you know, that's really... Sometimes you do have to go through pain and deprivation in terms of your own personal needs as an adult or a parent. You know, when you found a new partner in your life and you want to bring this person home, you may want to sleep with them at home. You may want them to be there present on family days out, on gatherings, Christmas morning, that kind of thing. But if this is causing huge distress to a member of your family or a child, you really, I personally think, I'd be interested to hear what you think, I think that you do have to kind of grin and bear it and maybe wait until it's not going to cause that much pain.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting you're even talking about that, because the other two callers that were on earlier on, talking about their own experience, that gentleman that was talking about coming into a family that already existed, and the lady who already had children. I mean, it sounds like both of them put their own feelings aside and were listening to the needs of a child and addressing the needs of a child. And that's very important, whether you actually do it yourselves or whether you enlist the help of professionals. And I mean, you've listed out a number of them there. And so, you know, it's you have a right to a life outside being a parent, but it is also about being very sensitive to the child's needs, and they may see that person as a threat. But very often when the child's feelings are acknowledged, it really does go a long way. And being realistic that these things take time. The average, just in terms of the life cycle of a step family, for that family to stabilise, so when a new person comes in, is about 7 years. It's quite a long cycle. So going in there very quickly is enough really to muddy the waters. And, we want to set good foundations. And as adults, we have an obligation and a responsibility to take care of the needs of the child.
But I think the elephant in the room, though, for a lot of contemporary families now is selfishness. And I know a lot of you now are going to get upset now hearing this opinion again from me. When you have the child, whether you're a man or a woman, but particularly when you're a woman, let's be honest about it, because you guys seem to do most of the work still, on the tin it says part of your life is going to have to take a back seat. And I'm hearing again and again people going, look, I know it's not right, but I'm taking my chance, I'm doing this. And there's pain and tears and nearly blood on the carpet where the family or the children are absolutely devastated. They can't handle this new person coming in. They can't handle what's happening. They can't even handle mammy holding hands in front of them with this new guy. But the adult is going, well, I'm just going for it. And I think that that's wrong.
I suppose, isn't that you're looking at the needs of a lot of people there? You're looking at it from the needs of the kid and from you as an adult. Whereas an adult, you see this as an opportunity for a second chance, but the child may still be harbouring fantasies, and I say that in quotes, of mum and dad getting back together.
And that's inevitable, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's usually upon a second marriage or the birth of a child from a second relationship will completely explode the fantasy, But it's a really difficult one, and it has to be handled very sensitively. And the child does not decide whether the parent has a relationship, but their needs are taken into consideration. And it is about doing it as sensitively as possible so that the child feels safe and secure, that they're still loved, that there isn't a threat. In any event, as children become teenagers, they start to drift away from the family unit. Anyway, it's part of their own development. So, it's important just to say that. The children won't always be around, but if you just need to be as sensitive, you need to sit and listen to the child.
Oh, and I know, and that's obviously one of the things also that was deeply disturbing our caller yesterday, though she seemed well able to accept it. But, the very idea that okay, I'm going to backpedal on the relationship, I'm not going to shove it down anybody's neck, which may actually mean the end of the relationship. That might actually damage it, I mean, the third party coming in may say, he or she may say, well, no thanks. To be honest, guys, there's other fish to be caught out there, and I'm not going to get stuck into this kind of half-hearted effort here. And then you anticipate the children growing up and leaving, and you'll be sitting there going, oh, now I've got nothing. You know what I mean? And that's why I think that is the elephant in the room. It's the thing that where modern parents are sometimes unwilling to accept, that maybe your life is going to be seriously compromised, and maybe forever.
It's not an original relationship. It is a relationship that is the second relationship is born out of loss. It could not have happened unless the first relationship ended, be that through bereavement or separation. So there's a different set of rules, and that's the piece around keeping it very realistic. The children's needs always come first. Successful step families who have negotiated through the mires of, the layers and layers of relationships, will often tell you, if you put the children's needs first, you need to and be realistic. It is not an original relationship. And if you do that, you're kind of halfway there. The rest of it is just negotiating. By
the way, I'm talking about children. I'm not talking about your 25-year-old son. He can go and take a hike, to be honest. Bernard has a question for you. Bernard, good morning.
Gerry, how are you doing?
Good, you have a question for Lisa?
I do. Listen, my situation is I was separated there a couple of years ago. Now, within 6 months of my marriage ending, I was in a relationship. And I have to say, it greatly affected my daughter. She was 10 at the time. So her school suffered and all that. And I'm just a bit shaken here because I'm still talking
You're
about.
grand, Bernard. You're grand.
Still fresh.
You're doing very well.
So I felt I had to make a decision between my daughter or my girlfriend. Now I did make that decision, and basically I finished with my girlfriend at the time. Now she's after coming on in leaps and bounds.
Good.
And she's doing really well in school now, and myself and her have a great relationship now.
Yeah.
But I find now I'm ready to get back into another relationship. I'm kind of fed up going to the pictures on my own and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
And I don't know whether to run it by her first, or what should I do? Should I ask her, is that okay? Should I just go out and if I get into another relationship, then tell her? I don't know what's the best way to go about that.
I think preparation might be a good approach if you could actually very gently broach the subject about, how old is your daughter now?
She's coming up on 12.
Coming up on 12. Okay, well, she's probably not far off going into starting relationships herself. And it may be, you could perhaps introduce it generally and say, well, how would you feel if I met somebody? And really just kind of talk it out with her and listen to her own concerns around, her dad meeting a new woman and what that's going to mean for her. In a way, she's entering into probably the biggest growth period of her life, and she will start to steadily move away from you as she, it's her own identity and she's going into adulthood herself. So
Until she needs you for something.
Yeah. But if you could introduce it, because that's preparation. If we kind of all know what to expect, it's much easier to manage. And you've already started a conversation about it. It may be easier for her to talk to you about it.
We have, yeah. See, the thing I see now is since I finished with the other girl, she has come on, and I just don't want to suffer again in school and stuff like that.
But it can't do any harm, though, and I presume, Lisa, you do. It cannot do any harm to suggest to her that you're thinking about it and what does she think about that. That can't do any harm at all. And you might be pleasantly surprised, as Lisa says, she might have made the jump into at least being neutral or open-minded about it. I mean, she might turn around and say, no, I don't want any other women involved whatsoever. And then, you're going to have to try and deal with that. But I mean, you've been very reasonable and you've done exactly what I was talking about. You have sublimated yourself and you have taken her welfare completely into account. So you deserve the chance to suggest your own welfare. I mean, you're not springing anything on her. It's not as if the woman is...
Right thing
you did do the right
dropping
thing.
the other girl. Or I don't really know.
Do you believe, do you ask yourself, do you believe that your child is better off?
Definitely, yeah. Well, okay. I've seen the benefits of it.
Well, then you did the right thing.
Okay, Gerry.
The other thing is just to say there as well, if she is having difficulties, I mean, MRSCS have a service called Teen Between Us for children who are encountering difficulties like this. And just, Bernard, like even yourself, if you're finding it difficult and you don't know how to do it, go and talk to a professional and come in to say somewhere like MRCS and talk about how you might do it so that you're comfortable with it, because very often if the parent is comfortable, the child will be fine as well.
Yeah, well, I tell you what I did. Last year there, I asked my sister to have a word with her, take her one side and have a little word. So they went for a walk, and what I got from that was her biggest fear is losing her dad.
Yeah.
Like, she's afraid I'm going to move out or move away from the area, or that's the last she'll save me.
Is she living with you, Bernard?
I live very close by.
Okay, right.
I see her every day, like.
Yeah. Oh, well, can I just say then, giving up your girlfriend and the fact that you don't actually live with her, I think that's, you're getting 11 out of 10 there.
Well, I find now I'm actually doing a lot of things...
that you wouldn't have done before?
Well, I'm actually doing a lot of things with my daughter that I would normally be doing with my wife, like the movies and...
Yeah.
But the thing I'm missing now is like an adult conversation. Like, that's why I think I need another relationship, to get into a relationship and...
Yeah, well, man cannot live by bread alone. There's no doubt about that. Sometimes he has to. But look, I think, and you are saying it as well, Lisa, and if you can't find the words for it, go to somebody who has experience, because sometimes the language doesn't come naturally to us as to how to introduce the topic into a conversation. I mean, you were smart enough to get your sister to go and solicit that information for you, but it would do absolutely no harm to just say something very simple to her, like, I had a girlfriend, tell her the truth, and I gave her up because I thought that you would have been upset. So, look, you know, what would you feel if somebody else came along and I went out with them, just even socially? How would you feel about that? Would you be embarrassed by it? Do you have any thoughts on it? And maybe even ask her advice. Well, what do you think? And I think, to be perfectly honest, I think I think you'll probably be okay.
Yeah, as I said, like she's she's coming up on 12 now, so she's very immature 11-year-old, if you know what I mean. She's very, like, she wouldn't be, you know, you see some grown-up 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds, and she's just very soft.
Well, that doesn't make her immature.
Very emotional would probably be the best thing to say. She's very...
Yeah, well, she's coming from an emotional background, so...
Yeah. And she's also just about to start adolescence too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's always a challenging time for everybody.
That's whizzing around inside. The eyes will drop and the hair will bop and you'll be unable to recognise her for a while. But it does come around. Bernard, listen, would you do something for me? If you're going to do this, will you come back and tell us how you got on?
Of course I will, yeah.
Okay, good luck to you, by the way. Actually, hold on a second, sure. Do you want something for a man or a woman?
Oh, man.
Okay. Spoken like a man, right?
I've nobody to give it to.
Let's see, what do we give you? Why not? For your watch?
No, not really.
Yesterday we called Sheeran in, we were talking about real watches. I don't know whether you heard Lisa, he was talking about. Lisa will know the brand, the Tag Heuer.
Oh, Tag Heuer, yeah.
Brad Pitt wears one, Bernard, if that's good enough for you. We're going to give you the Aqua Racer. It's the Tag Heuer Caliber S blue dial with electromechanical movement using central hour, minute and second hands to display both time and chronograph, accurate to 1/10 of a second, the regatta countdown function, whatever that is, and the perpetual retrograde calendar. It looks great. It's water resistant, just in case you're thinking of going down 300 metres. Do you know how much it's worth?
Go on.
€2,175.
Oh, Gerry. Whoa. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Well, it's yours and you deserve it too.
Okay, thanks very much.
God bless and take care.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'll come back to you on that, chair.
Good man. Okay.
Bye.
Now, Lisa, thank you very much indeed.
No problem.
And you've been very good. Shagger, I'll give you something as well.
Oh, lovely.
We know no shame, sure we don't. Off to Brown Thomas's, I'm digging deep into Santa Sack and I've got something nice for you here. I've got a Lancome women's set, the Tresor set, including perfume, body creme and shower gel.
Oh, lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you, bye-bye.
There you go. I don't hear anybody saying no to Santa Sack anyway. It's great, isn't it? Oh, I love it. I love doing it. Now, a lot of sound advice there, a lot of courageous talking to. It takes a lot, I think, to tell these stories. And if you'd like to join us on any of these issues, 1850 715 922. Sometimes people find that they can introduce themselves in a sort of more gentle way through email on grs@rte.ie or even by text on 51552.
Gerry Ryan, the Rhino.